Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Parasha Pointers, where we delve into the weekly Parasha. We're looking for inspiration of how to raise our children. This week's message is dedicated by the Hassoun family in memory of Yishak ben Lucy. You know, this week's Parasha talks about Moshe Rabbeinu going to Paro. The Pasuk says, Bo, daber el Paro. Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu, you got to go speak to Paro, but he doesn't say go, he says, come speak to Paro. Very interesting word. The Hizuk right over here says that Hashem says, I know you're afraid, I know you're worried, I don't know, whatever. I know it's not easy for you. I will go with you. And Hashem actually accompanied Moshe Rabbeinu to go to Paro. A little bit later, it says, Vaydaber Hashem al Moshe ve'el Aharon, vayitzavem. That Hashem spoke to Moshe and Aharon. All of a sudden, Aharon comes back in the picture. Once again, the Hizuk says that Moshe Rabbeinu again reiterated the fact that he had a problem, a speech impediment. And Hashem said, don't worry, I will send Aharon with you. And he will be your spokesperson. And I was looking at this. And it's pretty amazing because Hashem is giving tremendous support to Moshe Rabbeinu. But you look a little bit further, and the Pasuk says, a little bit further, when Hashem tells Moshe Rabbeinu to go and speak to Paro by the Nile River, he says, Lech, go. Hashem does not accompany Moshe Rabbeinu. What happened? Where does support go? And I think it's pretty clear that Hashem saw that at this point Moshe Rabbeinu did not need that support anymore. You could go. I supported you to a certain point, but now I got to let go. I got to let you go forward on your own to Paro. This is one of the greatest challenges that a parent faces and an educator faces. Knowing when to support and to hold on, and knowing when to let go of that child and let them go on their own. It's tricky. And it's very, very difficult to even write about it or speak about it because every case is so different and so unique. But at the same time, we have to understand this very important point. Our roles as parents sometimes gets mistaken. For example, we think we have this child, and this child is like a piece of clay, and we're going to have to mold him. We got to do everything. We have to make the whole thing. Our job is to make this boy and mold him into a tzaddik. and the truth is, he's not clay. He's a human. A child is more like a sapling, like a little sapling, a little tree that's going to grow. I don't have to make the sapling. All I got to do is just give it that watering. I got to give it the nutrition that it needs to grow, but it will grow on its own. I'm not making a piece of pottery. There is life to this child. We have to do the following. We have to make the conditions that will help this sapling grow, and that's what we have to do for our children. We don't make him, we make the conditions for him to make himself. Now, we all want our children to be tzaddikim, of course. We want them to be righteous, beautiful children and grow up to be great people. But we can't expect them to be tzaddikim right now. That's a big problem a lot of parents have. If we expect them to be perfect now, we're in big trouble. And then we get nervous, we get frustrated. We say, why is he not making birachot? Why is he not doing the right thing? I get this all the time. A diatribe on the phone from a parent. Yeah, I don't understand. He doesn't do this, he doesn't do that, he doesn't do it. He doesn't have respect, doesn't talk nicely. Okay, so if he doesn't do that, that means he's not the tzaddik you want him to be yet, right? Either am I. I'm 44 years old. It takes time. I'm still developing. So what are we going to do to help him develop these proper characteristics? That's a good question to ask. But we can't get nervous and we can't get frustrated. We can't scream at a kid because he's not what we want him to be. What are the conditions that we're making for that? So if we're going to just police them and just keep on pushing them to be that perfect person now, you know what happens to the plant when we make it and we put too much, that over-eager gardener? What does he do when he's, the tree's too small? So what does he do? He's going to help it grow, right? So what does he do to that tree, to that plant? He starts pulling it up. Come on, grow, plant. You know what happens? He rips it out of the ground. Or he overwaters it and he suffocates it. That's what we could possibly do to our children if we're not careful and make sure to irrigate and to help build and not to rip to shreds. So we can't expect the results we want right away, but at the same time we have to teach them, we have to support them. So there's that balance. There's a certain point where we got to make that shift, like I discussed before. Let me just try to give some examples. Again, every situation is unique. But you have a child, he has to get up for shul Saturday morning. So what do you do now? You wake him up a few times, or during the week for minyan, for school, for yeshiva, for whatever it is. He's in the house. So you wake him up a few times. But then there comes that time where you say, Sadiq, look, I love you. I think it's time for you to take responsibility for this waking up thing. There's something called an alarm clock. It can wake you up. But what if I don't wake up? You gotta wake up. You gotta figure it out. I was here to support you till now, but now you gotta do it on your own. And we see this a lot. Sometimes when the child is supported too much, let's say in school, they're given just too much support, and the parent just, we gotta study now, we gotta do now. Then when the parent goes out of the picture and the kid has to go to high school or to older grades in elementary school, he just falls apart because he was never built up on his own. He's got to build his own muscles at a certain point. We do this in school, by the way. It's called scaffolding. When you have a child who's having a hard time, let's say he can't answer the questions on the test, so we give him a little support. Say, okay, open the book. There's 10 questions. Open the book for all the questions. Then we lower it. Now we'll only do 7, and then 5, and then 4, and then 2, and then you don't need the book anymore to answer the questions. The idea here is it's temporary. The same thing with teaching a child how to ride a bike. You're holding on, but at a certain point, if you don't let go, he won't know how to ride the bike on his own. I hope you get the point. We see this from Hashem and Moshe Rabbeinu. Support, but then at a certain point, you're on your own, you got to make it happen. Hopefully we give enough support to give them the strength to persevere. That's what it's all about. Now, I just want to make one clarification. We don't do this when it comes to things that are dangerous for a child. We don't tell the child, you know what, try smoking, try alcohol, take a technological device and have it totally unfiltered, and you figure out what we're going to do. No, we don't do that. When it comes to that, we have to be very, 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 very smart. Because that's the sur mirah, that's staying away from things that are negative and dangerous. It's only about getting him to be motivated to grow. Where do we do this? We have that support and we let them go. Of course, at a certain point, they're going to make their own decisions, even when it comes to things that might be dangerous for them. But that is when they decide to do that at a much, much older age. I hope that this message resonates with everybody and they realize that what their job is as a parent. When you know your job, you don't get as frustrated and nervous and upset, because you realize that your job is just to cultivate. You're the coach. You make ground rules and you help them build. Wishing everybody a Shabbat Shalom.